on the analyst desk here, Bren, and it's hard to disagree. Misfits, they have looked incredibly dominant all throughout Season 1. eUnited, though they were the defending champions of Season 0, not quite as good for them. And, Bren, one thing I would note here, though, is that these teams do have a long and shared history between each other. eUnited has been against them for an incredibly long period of time if you go back through Overwatch history, and it's just interesting to see this here because there was a point where you would go into this and this would be a marquee matchup. It wasn't always the case that eUnited would be so far behind.
Yeah, and right now, I mean, coming into Oasis as a map, it should be pretty good as it stands. I mean, Misfits as a team, they've been playing incredibly well for the time being, and eUnited, as though they did show signs of life towards the tail end of the game the other day. You know, I personally bet against eUnited. I bet my suit jacket on the line. I lost that bet. You know, I'll be the first one to admit it. You know, eventually I do have to actually consume my suit jacket. Again, still working out the how we're actually going to do this because I was having a few talks with people and I was told it's going to be incredibly dangerous and I could potentially die.
Well, I mean, you should have thought about that before making the bet.
I'm a man of my word.
I'm just saying, like, you have only yourself to blame for the situation. You should have thought about your health before making that ill-advised wager.
Here's the plan, right? We're gonna get some pastry.
Okay.
I'm gonna learn how to tailor a suit jacket, and I'm gonna create a suit jacket out of pastry, and consume all of it. Absolutely all of it. I know, you know, Reinforcer's probably cringing right now on the desk at the amount of carbs that I would have, but it's gonna have to be doable. You know, I'm a man of my word. As much as I don't want to consume suit jackets, that is the way it's gonna have to be.
All right. Well, speaking of the way it's gonna have to be, eUnited right now trying to bring things back here against Misfits. Early fight here as we see both teams bringing out the Junkrat, and this is gonna create space for both teams. But it's Misfits that get the better end of the early poke war. That's why you see Misfits moving forward, and Tvik very much comfortable here in the side and just laying in the concussion mines when possible.
You can see a little bit overwhelming damage of Tvik here. Just slamming it home. Misfits, no surprises there. They're going to be getting that first cap up. eUnited, they're mashing them. You know, they've got the Junkrat as well. Crew's going to be trying to bring it out, but I mean, right now, Swoosh is just an absolute mad one in the back lines. Boombox and Valo going to both be falling. Now, ZP, a question for you.
Sure.
Okay, if you could play any support at any sport at the highest level, right, at the highest peak, what would it be and why?
Any support in any sport?
Any sport.
Oh, any sport at the highest level. Oh, basketball. I would dunk on people all day long. Yes.
That's so surprising.
No, I would love to have that coordination. Whoa. Oh, my word. Run over to Vic. Takes the low road with the tire and comes up high indeed with 2 kills, keeping Misfits very much on the winning edge.
Why basketball?
Like I said, I would style, I would dunk over people, I would use incredible jumping strength to just be the most stylish person of all time.
It doesn't fit. I would have thought you would have said like American football or something. But I don't know, but now we're going to see the initiation coming in. Boombox uses a nano boost to get us a nice sleep down to Swoosh. It's going to take him out the fight for the time being. But again, no casualties. In fact, it's all Logics who's going to be finding that one onto Boombox. Value equalizes it out for the time being. And now we're going to see the rip tire used. Is he going to be able to get a kill? He does indeed. Cruz with the double kill, picking it up and turning it around.
A little bit of revenge road kill there from eUnited, and now they actually get a chance to solidify rather heavily. Not only are they going to get control here, but Unfixed has the Graviton set up. Misfits, they have plenty of time here, though, Bren. So they can absorb a bad push where maybe Unfixed lands a Graviton and completely wrecks them because they have time.
We have a bit of a replay here of this rip tire play coming out again. No fancy footwork here, just pure tire plays. They couldn't actually focus it down well enough. And now we see the fight continuing. The Graviton Surge is going to be committed here by the side of eUnited. They're going to be trying to take this one out, but Logix immediately picks up the double kill here for his team. As much as eUnited are in control of the point, Misfits, with overwhelming force, are currently winning this team fight.
Well, we were in the replay during that, but Unfixed wasn't able to set things up with the Graviton well at all there. It was somewhat wasted, and that's why Misfits was able to do that. Sure, it was a nice flank by Logix, but it shouldn't matter. eUnited should have been able to win that on the front lines, and Unfixed, this is how little faith he has in his Zarya right now. He's going to 76. I mean, part of it is that he's not going to get another grab, but this is rough and deep for United. You have to win those fights when you have that level of advantage going into it.
Yeah, Maniton now with a Graviton Surge. This should realistically be Misfits' round right here and now, assuming Maniton doesn't mess up his own Graviton Surge here. And now we're going to see as they lead it in for the time being, still holding on to it. Nothing to really combo with it for the time being, but a lot of members of eUnited are falling quite low, quite weak. The Primal Rage used by Shag. Graviton is only going to be connecting onto the one member there of eUnited, and poor Morte get focused down very rapidly indeed.
Well, that wasn't necessarily a great graviton. I mean, they use that in Morta, but eUnited, as a result, they're able to get back in here. Manatin, I mean, maybe he thought, oh, we have this one, but he might have wanted to glance behind him because it was anything but. eUnited with Sharik and Cruz had flanked them from the side, and though Misfits is still in a very good position going to the next fight, that's an error you don't need to make.
All right, so eUnited coming into this, ultimate-wise, not looking too great. Cruz almost has the Dragon Blade Value with the Pulse Bomb. Now we're going to see Tavik, Riptire, incoming straight up the middle. Keeping himself hidden for the time being. And oh, poor Boombox. Going to be meeting his Maker, but Tavik, meanwhile, is going to be meeting a bit of his Maker now. The Tactical Visor being used. Logix wants to try and clean this up with the rest of his team. And off the back of that, ZP, the capture goes to Misfits. The overtime ticks down. And this will be them claiming round number 1.
And I gotta say, credit where credit's due, the Tavik here, where I know we've seen some cool stuff with Junkrat tires over the last few weeks, but I think it's pretty clear on this point in particular that he did put some time and effort into thinking, how can I rotate my tire around to catch people off guard? And he just takes areas where you don't really have good line of sight on the tire, where you're more likely to catch someone as they turn a corner and go, oh my God, what have I done? And when you run over Boombox, you put eUnited into an incredibly tough situation for actually bringing that fight back.
Hey, that's the trouble with Riptire, right? It makes a hell of a lot of noise. You know, I mentioned earlier in the cast that it sounds like a bit of a mixture between a chainsaw and a bear, but I mean, when it's coming at you and you don't know the angle, you see players from their perspective, they're looking around frantically for this tire because it's very hard to pinpoint where exactly it is going to be coming from. And now you see a bit of a switch up. Tavik now not going to be running the Junkrat as well as Cruz, both going to be running the Genji. Misfits with a sort of traditional dive composition is going to be that Winston and D.Va. And eUnited still sticking with that triple DPS.
So there is a big point of contention here, as you mentioned, with the triple DPS, where sure, Unfix is going to potentially have good line of sight here, but Manatin has been incredibly good at D.Va, just shutting down 76s, and when it's a D.Va in your face as a 76, it's advantage D.Va, so eUnited, if they don't get the first kill here, it's actually going to be very difficult for them to make this triple DPS work, and frankly, throughout Contenders Season 1, the triple DPS hasn't worked for them, and they still keep doing it.
Yeah, it's I could sense the aggression in your voice there when you said they still keep doing it, but like it's looking like again it's not working out for them. They lose a lot of these players. Great tracking by Logix there. Bring down Morte as well. The follow-up players, the swift strike by Tavik will finish up Unfixed, and now the point will start to go Misfits' way. Valu can potentially try and stall this one out. You know, he has the ability to walk onto it, but it's not going to be working out for the time being. And Misfits once again in control of this initial checkpoint, and realistically, we've seen a change and a shift in the meta as this tournament has gone on. You know, teams that run the triple DPS, it's a bit old hat, you know, you can't really run it to the degree of other compositions, and it seems that teams have a lot more success when they run the D.Va and the Winston.
They do indeed, and I mean, eUnited, this is what they've been up against the entire time, and you take a look, it's difficult for them to get control early on in fights, but it's a bit of a paradox because they have to get early kills to make triple DPS work. Misfits, they're more than willing to back up and heal, and Logix explodes with the double kill.
Yeah, Logix just really does not care, does he? Just slams it home with the pulse bomb. Bringing out 2 of them again, puts an end to the push attempts here by eUnited, and a bit of a 1v1 attempt here, but ganged up on eventually as Valutaya is going to finally go down. And I mean, let's take a look at this replay by Logix once again. I'm not even sure if he stuck somebody. I think it was just on the ground. I suppose might have just walked into it. Oh no, it was an excellent stick actually. But as a whole, Misfits now, when you gain control of the control center on Oasis, it's so difficult to regain control. Like eUnited have got such a hard ask ahead of them. The replay by Tavik, I mean, you can't do anything against the Tesla can on my back. But it's so hard for them to try and retake this now, especially when they're sitting at such a massive ultimate disadvantage across the board.
And for eUnited, they just haven't had control for most of this. Misfits might have overplayed their hand a little bit with Tavik and Zebo going that deep, and now Unfixed has room for the tac visor for cleanup. But even still, Misfits is in a good spot here, and because Manatin and Swoosh are still alive, they can delay this out. This is the power of running 2 tanks here, where eUnited, you might have more DPS, but you're just throwing that into the defense matrix right now. It's taking you forever to secure this point, and meanwhile, Misfits at 85%. Here comes Tavik.
Tavik with the Dragon Blade gets boot back peeled effectively, brought down, but Logix still in the fight. Remember, this is Control Center. These fights go on for absolutely donkey's years. Even though Logix will finally pick up Boombox, is taken down once again. Now the Blade coming out by Cruz. He's looking to clean up here. Swoosh falls. They get the D-Mech and they get the capture. But it was 98%. That could potentially work out a lot worse here for eUnited, because as soon as Misfits reflip this, if there's nobody on the point to contest it, it's going to mean that they instantly win the round and consequently the map.
So eUnited has a swap up here. They're using the Sombra now that they have control. And the other thing, too, is that Sombra's really good at delaying. I don't disagree with the swap here, especially with Unfix just getting rocked up until this point. However, he's poked down heavily, has to get out of the fight to begin with. Misfits is working on 6v5 power play here in a sense, and you can tell from the pressure they're putting onto the point. Now they engage with the Sound Bearer, but it's not enough to say Zupe. Cruz got right to the back.
Yeah, Zupe, unfortunately, the Sound Bearer not connecting onto him, and I'm going to focus him down, taking out that Discord Orb away from the fight, but this fight still continues. Misfits are going to be bringing down Sharik. They follow up with a few more kills. Valu is definitely on cleanup. Nobody really taking care of him for the time being. And again, eUnited winning another overwhelming fight for the time being. They are going to contest the point for a short while, but I mean, Misfits are kind of struggling here. Now we see actually a switch. Zupe is going off the Zenyatta. This is as a result, this is because of Unfix onto the Sombra. That's the reason he's making that switch.
He doesn't want to get insta-deleted by the EMP that is surely going to be hitting them as they engage at this next point. And in fact, Misfits doesn't have as much time as they would like here. I think the EMP or the Sombra swap is very smart. And now you look at Unfix to the back. Here comes the EMP. He realizes, oh, there's no Zen. Whatever. Gonna drop it anyways. Hits 2. It's not the highest value EMP at all, though, and Misfits might survive.
Yeah, Misfits peel effectively. Sharik will bring down Zupe, but not before evening it out and Cruz. Great Shuriken. Zebasai is no more. So he'll be taking the fight to the bitter end here. Blade is available by Cruz. Great Primal Rage here. Swoosh really looking to take this one further. Oh my god, you were a bit scared there, weren't you, of the cars, ZP? You were looking at him backing up.
He was about to get run over. He was close.
But no, the fight, again, this is Control Center in a nutshell. United still holding on. Post-bomb by Valu. Great kill again. Valu really turning up now for eUnited.
Indeed, and the Sombra pick so far, very good for United because it forced a swap, and Unfix to be doing more in it. He does follow Logix, though, and here we go into overtime. This is where Logix has been the X factor from Misfits repeatedly and being able to bring stuff back, but he goes down. Boombox Kong with the Helix rocket, and eUnited might be able to take this round yet.
Incredible pick off to Vic, and the Dragon Blade is going to be traded out between both these teams. Cruz is so weak, forced to use the Reflector back out of there. And still the fight continuing here. Misfits are getting the players on the point. The Nano Boost is going to be used onto Swoosh, and he just cleans up 2 players with ease, it feels like. Unfix still trying to find his place in the world as he's just hovering around the point, and now Zebasai comes in with the Sound Barrier, connects onto all remaining members of Misfits for the time being. Beat's going to be dropped by eUnited as they are really desperate to try and win this map out, but so much cap time, the overtime ticks down. It's too late here, ZP. Are they going to be able to get onto the point? Boombox desperately searching for an opportunity. But right now, Misfits, if they hold control here, we could be seeing a 1 map for them almost instantly.
And Misfits, they're able to bring this back from the brink. They were trading out back and forth, but Logix and Swoosh working together as a team, eventually just putting this over the edge with better skirmishing power. And that, it's going to be Misfits taking round number 2 and the map. And I gotta say, even though the Sombra play was definitely a step up here for eUnited, what we continually see from them is that either their unwillingness or inability to put Unfixed on the D.Va and actually make it work, it just hurts them because they continually get stuck in these situations where they go, we're going to triple DPS.
Yeah.
And they get outgunned and outmatched in most of the fights as a result of it.
No, I completely agree with that. I mean, not running the D.Va is honestly a massive mistake coming into this matchup. Especially when you're running against a team like Misfits that are more likely to punish you for running the triple DPS and whatnot. It is a hard ask, but ultimately Misfits, no surprises there that they managed to take it away from them. I mean, Oasis as well as a map, it can seem quite deceiving at times because of the way Control Center plays out. You know, you can contest for long periods of time. But overall, it did feel like Misfits, you know, understandably, were a better team in that scenario.
They were, and I think one thing that's also rough for eUnited is that when you run triple DPS comps, you're looking to get a quick pickoff.
Right.
And the problem is that if you look at the stats and just use your eyes and who's really good at getting those early pickoffs, you're playing that game with Logix, and that's just difficult. However, guys, we're going to be taking a quick break. When we come back, map number 2 will be underway. And we are back with Overwatch Contenders Season 1 EU, Misfits versus eUnited. And Bren, this is a team on the top versus a team almost on the bottom, and yet we know eUnited, even though they haven't shown it to us over the course of the season, they were capable of more, and even in the last round, they did have a few moments that looked good. It just feels like they're a little bit behind the meta.
Yeah, I mean, the triple DPS that they're pulling out, it's what eUnited love to run, right, at the end of the day, but it has fallen out of favor for different compositions. You know, the Winston Diva, like I mentioned earlier, you can't really run it into that and expect the same results because of the amount of damage mitigation you do have these days. But we're going to be going into King's Row in terms of map choices. I mean, what's your opinion on this one here? Because it's map, I guess it's one of my favorite maps, personally. You know, not many people know this about me, but it's one of my favorite maps.
Is it because it's in London?
It is, partly, but also because it's just it's a very fun map to play. You know,
is it because the weather is it because the weather is much more beautiful than the weather in London is?
It is. I don't know what they did with the weather in future London, but it's never like, I mean, it is nighttime right now. You know, it's not rare. I mean, we do have night in the UK, believe it or not. Yeah, we do have the change of the sun going, you know,
Bren, that exposes you to the vampires. That means you might have vampires in your country. I just want you to know. That implies
that vampires exist, CP. And I mean, they could. I wouldn't put it past you to believe in vampires. I mean, I could 100% picture you with like a belt of stakes around your chest, you know?
It's quite the opposite. I mean, have you seen me out in the sunlight? Think wisely.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit uncomfortable here, boys. We're going to have to, I think, steadily move on here. CP's he's licking his lips. He's staring at me. I don't quite know what's going on, but you know, if I go missing after the end of today, the final day of Contenders, you know where I've been. It's CP.
I would actually turn you. You would just become me. You'd become a vampire.
Please, CP, I don't want to hear about your vampire fan fictions here. All right, this is not the time and the place. Okay, we got an Overwatch cast. I don't want to know what you want to do with me in your free time. Please, leave it out. Leave it out. All right, leave it. We got a game to cast. Misfits versus eUnited. Misfits going to be on the defense. They're going to be running Tavik on that Junkrat. eUnited are making a switcher. Unfix is now on the Zarya instead of the triple DPS that they're running. Let's see if they can find some success with it.
I'm really happy for this. This brings me back to the good old days where Tavik used to run Junkrat on King's Row first all the time and was very effective and catch his crews in that bear trap. However, worthy sacrifice. Tavik is down. Now eUnited, they don't have to worry about getting poked down as much. This means they can engage a little bit deeper without getting really wrecked for it. And now you see what's the result of this. However, Misfits, they come back in. They're trying to buy space and buy time for Tavik to get into this fight.
Now, Unfixed, if he survives here, it's going to be very helpful for them. Zupe across the map. Snipes Valutaya. He's out of there. Gone without a flinch. And I mean, looking at this, crews, they're definitely poking for the opportunities, but Misfits, they're holding strong. They've got so much damage output, but also protection from it. I mean, as I say, that the back lines are going to get ran down there. Zupe will fall, but ultimately Shark, he falls again as a result, and this is looking so good for them. Right now, eUnited's game plan, they keep trying to take this fight through the hotel, and it's just not working, is it? It's in the slightest. When Tavik's there with the Junkrat, they've got so much aerial denial that it's always just a death trap to even try and walk in through that one side.
And Junkrat's always been good at denying this area. When teams used to run Junkrat way before his buffs, way back in the day, they would run him about where Tavik is right now, where you just keep him here, you deny this entire area, and then what you see here is Tavik is going to start creeping out a little bit, punishing people as they go the other way. eUnited, though, they commit with the barrier, but immediately lose crews.
Yeah, moving in, Misfits now going to be using their own sandbar to try and take the fight forward, but looking at this, it looks like eUnited are turning this one around. Graviton Surge is used, only connects onto Unfix once again, but Tavik still in the fight for the time being, dumping this overwhelming damage into the one side. Swoosh also going to be using his own Primal Rage to really stall this bad boy out. Misfits are going to be in control still. Once again, even off the back of that, bit of a poor Graviton Surge, if I do say so myself, from Mountain.
Well, speaking of Graviton Surges, Unfixed is the only one that can actually fix the situation for eUnited. The Graviton Surge is going to be up here in just a moment. It's going to be on him to move forward and get the proper grab on the Misfits that gets maybe 2 kills and lets them really snowball this in their favor. But he's challenging Tavik here in the hotel. See if it works out, but he is going to flush him out at least for now.
Shark jumps into the back line to try and force him out, and it's going to be a good grab for the time being. He's going to be using it. Valo with the pulse bomb, going to be collecting 2 of those kills as a result. Logic's now trying to answer back with the tactical visor. Does enough damage for the rest of his team to equalize that out. And it's not the Graviton Surge that I think eUnited were looking for. That was one of the last hopes, realistically, of trying to really take this one. And I mean, as long as they survive this fight, it should be looking all right. But with Boombox, he has pulled down Manaton here, ZP. could be turnable.
Very well could be, and now Misfits, they might just back up a bit. They have room to give here, right? You don't have, for a first point hold, you don't need to prevent all ticks, just the final one, but oh my goodness, here comes Cruz. Dragon Blade in the back at the same time as the tire, so this fight taking place on multiple flanks, but it's Misfits where Tvik is still good, Logix is still good, and that means their sphere of control is still there.
Yeah, so I mean, eUnited are sacrificing a lot of ults to try and take this fight. In fact, Sharek twice now, he's leaped into the back lines to try and bring down Zupe, who's currently sitting on the balcony. And he even used his Primal Rage and got absolutely nothing from it in the end. And eUnited, the only thing they've got to work with here is now Boombox's Transcendence that he's holding on to. They are going to be able to lead it in as well with the sound barrier that Morte is currently building up. But Misfits, the way they're controlling this map right now, the way they're playing this, it's going to be a hard ass for them.
That's really big. They found Logix. They committed the diving on him. Not only is he out of the fight, but he had the tack visor. Now, Misfits, way more room to work with. And Tvik, where the eUnited's coming from, he can't really spam them effectively. So eUnited, the first 2 picks go their way. A much smarter engage here so far.
Well, a lot of ults being used. Morte still holding on to his ult for the time being, and Zupe actually fell there. And he was so close to the Transcendence. That's going to be critical for eUnited if they want to try and take this. And Valutaya, a 2K for him, trying to turn up with the rest of his team. But Logix, he answers back. Already 2 kills with the Tactical Visor. Ends up bringing an end to his own life. Overtime on the point right now. eUnited desperate to try and get some time on here. Unfix now committing with his own Tactical Visor. Nobody's actually there. And now we're going to see a turnaround here, ZP.
The Graviton in from Maniton, built it up mid-fight, using it to finish it out. And eUnited, who is looking so strong, was picked apart by charged up Maniton and Logix. Now they're against the wall, on the verge of being first point held, and they are. Only 59%. Ooh. Marvelous control coming out there from Misfits.
Yeah, again, just showing why they are the #1 seed currently on the EU side of Contenders. I mean, there's without a shadow of a doubt, they've really just turned up massively. eUnited, we saw signs of life from them the other day, you know. Like I mentioned before, I made the mistake of betting against them, and I didn't think they'd be able to actually hold on when they were playing on Volskaya, but they did manage to do it. And it's interesting for a team like eUnited because they fell so far. Remember, we're talking about the Season 0 champions here, ladies and gentlemen, on the EU side of things at least. And we've seen signs of life. Valutaya just then turning up with multiple 2-man pulse bombs. Cruz as well, trying to put in a bit of work. But realistically, ZP, where do you think the issue lies? Is it purely in the compositions that they like to run?
No, I think in that particular case, I think what we're dealing with, and this has been a long-running trend with eUnited this season, is that eUnited does not win fights they should win at a way higher rate than other teams there. Because think about how that fight started. They got not just a pick-off on the Logix, but a clean pick-off on the Logix, where he had a visor in store, they got rid of the big threat, they had a 6-on-5, and then how they play the rest of the fight is sloppy. They're not able to capitalize on that one-man advantage, where usually you should be able to win a fight like that, and they end up losing it. Sure, Misfits is playing well, but that's always a back-and-forth thing, right? It requires one team to be playing out of their mind and the other team to let them back in. Yeah. And eUnited, whether it be in ult management or finishing out fights with an advantage, they simply don't do their jobs the way that they used to do.
Well, we're going to see an interesting composition by eUnited. If we just briefly talk about them on the defense for the time being, they're actually going to be putting, it's going to be like a triple DPS sort of composition here, Cruz on the Junkrat, but the most interesting thing for me is the fact that they've got Unfixed on the Hanzo, Sharek on the Reinhardt, and Morte on the Mercy. This is quite a strange composition. I can see what they're going for here. Overwhelming damage, using the damage boost, take control of every single section of the first point of King's Row. Do not let them get onto that point. But Misfits going to be coming out with a tried classic here for this King's Row first point. Still keeping Tvik on the Junkrat. Let's see if they can break through it.
Can we just point out the Hanzo on defense here? Geometry class in session for the defense.
That's unusual, right?
It's very unusual because even though Hanzo is great for offense because you only need one good pickoff, he doesn't have the consistency you need for a defense generally, and you're seeing that right now. Unfixed hasn't come up with much here so far, and while he has
so much time on the point.
They're just dominating the point. They almost have it, just a tiny, tiny little bit away. And now eUnited, if they even want to hold here, they have to throw their bodies on the point, but they can't. And Misfits makes it look easy.
Yeah, there you have it. I mean, a full hold straight up. That was eUnited's map pick as well. Quick reminder, so Misfits going to be taking this as a 2-0. Very rapid fashion. I mean, no, we weren't, you know, exactly lying when we said, you know, this is the top seed team, Misfits, against one of the lowest. I think eUnited are currently second to last. Yeah, second to last. I mean, it's a great transcendence for the time being. Valu did manage to bite through it with his own pulse bomb, but I mean, yeah, ultimately Misfits, we saw it from them there and then. I mean, their play style, the foundation of their team so strong at just trying to hold. They play very well together.
Well, the thing is for Misfits is that they're playing well enough to a point where if you make mistakes, they will punish you for it, which means even if you have an advantage, if you go too far out, if you freelance too much on your own and they see it, they're going to target call you, they're going to take you out, and they're going to equalize these fights that, frankly, eUnited should have been able to win.
So a quick question, ZP, for you then, just before we head off to a break. But Misfits is the #1 seed right now. Is there a team in EU Contenders right now, do you think they could take the fight to them out of the current teams that are guaranteed to go to playoffs now?
Gigante.
Gigante?
Yes, because here's the thing, is that things are a little bit more in flux in a live environment to begin with. It's where players can play way above their norm. They can play below. And Gigante, they were improving over the course of Contenders. So even though they did lose to Misfits earlier, I think Gigante could give them an incredible fight in LA. But guys, those questions for another time. We're going to be taking a quick break. When we come back, the desk will be breaking down the first half.